Thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring today's video. Go to nordvpn.com/Daniel Schiffer and use the code Daniel Schiffer to get 75% off a 3-year plan and start browsing the internet securely on all your devices. So just a couple of weeks ago, my buddy Teppo from Finland was here visiting Toronto, so we decided to meet up, shoot some content, and hang out, and Teppo actually put out a vlog on his channel from that day where he talks about different composition techniques to get better photos and videos. So once you're done here, I urge you to go check out his channel if you are interested in learning how to get some bangers for your Instagram. Now, when we met up, I was actually originally planning to make a video all about the new Zhiyun Weebill Lab gimbal and all of its new features, but unfortunately we were tight on time, and it definitely didn't help that it was so cold I felt like my fingers were going to fall off.
My hands are numb, so I can't do anything.
So I had to hold off on that gimbal review, but in the meantime, I wanted to try something different and pull off a type of shot that I've actually never done before. So I'm sure many of you have seen those really trendy gimbal hyperlapses where the camera moves closer and closer to a subject, or it's going through space as everything whips by really fast. I actually wanted to try something really similar using the same techniques, but to pull off something that looked a little bit more convincing, something that actually looked realistic. Now, typically hyperlapses have this really surreal look to them with a lot of motion blur and even a little bit of choppiness, but I wanted to see if it were possible to do the same sort of thing to get a shot that doesn't look as fake, if that makes sense. So the idea was actually pretty simple. We were shooting at the popular Yellow Bridge here in Toronto, which has a great view of the skyline in the background, and I wanted to get a shot where the camera was locked onto the CN Tower while passing through the bridge with the arches whizzing by. The goal was to make it look like we're shooting from a moving car or train, but without the car or train. And given that the Yellow Bridge is for pedestrians only, I couldn't use a car even if I wanted to, so naturally I got my gimbal set up and started walking. I enabled the grid lines on my camera and tried my best to keep the CN Tower locked into the center of the frame, and I also walked fairly slowly, trying to minimize the amount of shake or unwanted movement in my shot. The raw clip ended up being 42 seconds long, and I knew I wanted the final effect to be somewhere between 2 or 3 seconds. So let's go ahead and fire up the clip in post and see what we can come up with. The very first thing we need to do is stabilize the clip to make it nice and smooth. Final Cut actually has 2 stabilization options built in, and in this case we're going to use inertia cam and set it to 30. But these settings of course will vary depending on your footage. The next thing we have to do is retime the clip to our desired length and speed, and in this case I think around 1400% should do the trick. So already this is actually looking kind of cool, but we are not quite done yet. I'm gonna go ahead and add a few whoosh sound effects to emphasize those arches going past the camera, and I'm also going to add some sound effects of a downtown city ambience to tie it all together. Next, we will add some motion blur to make the effect look more realistic, and as I've mentioned in the past, the motion blur I use are these layers from Mark Webster. I'll link them down below, but I do have to warn you that these layers can be quite hard on your computer and cause it to slow down or even crash your Final Cut Pro. Otherwise, I recommend looking for some other options that are out there. There's plenty of plugins for Final Cut, and if you are on Adobe, you can actually use the built-in motion blur for After Effects. So the last step is to add a color grade, and for this I'll be using the Sandfield Mild LUT from my Sandfield LUT pack, and that is it. So here is a quick snippet of the raw clip we started with. And here is the final result. So as I mentioned earlier, this video is sponsored by NordVPN, and if you aren't already familiar with what a VPN is, you should be. Every day when we're going about our business online, whether that's watching YouTube videos or exchanging emails or even shopping for Christmas gifts, your private information is at risk of being accessed by hackers. Now, what's scary is that getting a hold of this information that you thought was safe is actually much easier for these hackers than I initially even thought. Something as simple as connecting to a public Wi-Fi network at a coffee shop, which is something I do all the time, is enough to put yourself at risk. So NordVPN actually uses military-grade encryption to protect you from these hackers who are trying to sniff out information like your bank account, your credit cards, or even your online accounts and passwords. I've actually heard stories about YouTubers being hacked and having their entire channel deleted simply because they were logged onto a hotel Wi-Fi network. NordVPN protects your information online via thousands of servers in over 61 different countries, and NordVPN can be used from all your devices with up to 6 simultaneous connections. There's actually also a Chrome extension which allows you to enable the VPN with just a click of a button, so if you are buying something online and you want to protect your credit card information, you can do so with just one click. If you go to nordvpn.com/Daniel Schiffer or use the code Daniel Schiffer, you will get 75% off a 3-year plan, which comes out to only $2.99 a month. And honestly guys, at this point with the end of 2018 fast approaching, a VPN should be a no-brainer. So do yourself a favor and protect yourself from a senseless disaster. So that is it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed it or found it helpful, then make sure you give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Follow me on Instagram at Daniel.Schiffer, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.